Shalom Aleichem, everyone. It's Parshat Naso, and the longest parsha in the Torah, 176 psukim. And one of the reasons it's so long is because we have the karbanos that are brought by each of the Nesim. And when one reads those parshios of the Nesim, the karbanos of the Nesim at the Chanukas HaMishkan, the Chanukas HaMizbeach, it seems to be very, very repetitive. And what exactly is the point of the constant repetition? That's what really creates an elongated parsha. So I just want to focus on one of the Nesim, the second of the Nesim. We know the first Nasi was Nachshon ben Aminadav, and the Medrash Rabbah says that Nachshon ben Aminadav of Shevet Yehuda got to be the first because when it came to Yetzias Mitzrayim and jumping into the Yam Suf, so Nachshon took the initiative, and therefore he was given the privilege of bringing the first karban when it comes to the karbanos of the Nesim. The second karban is that of Nisanel ben Suar from Shevet Yisachar. And here it tells us, the Torah writes, Bayom HaSheni, Hikriv Nisanel ben Suar Nisi Yisachar, Hikriv es Karbano Ka'aras Kesef, Achas, and so forth. And again, the same exact formula that every single karban seems to be the same. However, the Medrash and Rashi also cites that the Lashon in this pasuk is slightly different. It's very, very subtle, but it's different, and Chazal, of course, pick up on it. When it comes to all the other karbanos of the Nesim, the Torah tells us, V'karbano, his karban, Karas Kesef Achas, Shoshim Yom Eshkala, etc. V'karbano. When it comes to Nisanel ben Suar, the Torah says that Hikriv es karbano Karas Kesef. Hikriv es karbano. You don't find that by the other Nesim. What exactly, why that extra language of Hikriv es karbano? So, take a look at Rashi, a number of different ideas that the Medrash picks up on. But perhaps one can suggest the following. I saw this, an idea from a friend who cites a Medrash, and very, very beautiful idea. He points out this is very tough on Nisanel ben Suar. Indeed, Reuven had a taina, why should they be last? Why should they not be more prominent? And here Nisanel ben Suar is the second Nasi bringing the karban. Nachshon ben Aminadav brought the first karban, and now comes Nisanel ben Suar. Now, how are you going to go ahead and play it? Every Nasi could bring their very own karban. So how exactly is Nisanel going to play it? On the one hand, he could look at the karban that was brought by Nachshon ben Aminadav. Nice karban. And now he could say, well, I want to do better. I want to do even more. So he can up it a notch. And imagine if he did that. He upped it a notch. So then the subsequent Nasi is going to say, whoa, Nachshon brought nice karban. Nisanel upped it a notch. Well, I want to go ahead and up him. And up it another notch. And every one of the 12 Nesim is going to go ahead and up it a notch, and up it a notch, and up it a notch, in a certain sense, creating a certain competition with each and every other Shevet. So came along Nisanel ben Suar, says the Medrash, and did something very, very unbelievable. He went ahead and he gave the same exact karban as Nachshon ben Aminadav. Nachshon was the initiator. He got to start it off. Nisanel now has a fundamental choice. Do I up it a notch, create my own individuality, or am I going to go ahead and follow the pattern of Nachshon ben Aminadav? And he chooses the latter. He's going to follow the pattern. He's going to pick up on the heels of Nachshon, bring the same exact karban. So perhaps the Torah wants to tell us the following. Do not think he was just copycatting. It was Hikriv es karbano. This was his karban, his choice, his own initiative to bring the very same karban. And that set the tone for all of the other Nesim who are also going to go ahead and not try and one-up the prior Nasi, but they're all going to end up bringing the same exact karban. And it's very, very striking. You have 12 days of karbanos. And the Parshat Pshat Psukim is what the Midrash points out. These karbanos were even brought on Shabbos, which is a tremendous, tremendous chiddush. Because when it comes to a karban of a yachid, if I need to bring a karban chatas, my own karban, that's not doches Shabbos. That's not going to suspend the laws of Shabbos. I can't sacrifice my own personal karban on Shabbos. A karban sibur, or a karban shekavua lazman, that's doches Shabbos. A karban sibur, like a karban tamid, the karban musaf, that's doches Shabbos. Not so when it comes to a personal karban. L'chora, these karbanos of the Nesim were personal karbanos. So how is it that they were doches Shabbos? But perhaps because of exactly what Nisanel ben Suar did. He went ahead and he followed the lead of Nachshon, brought the very same karban, and every subsequent Nasi did the same exact thing. So perhaps all of a sudden these karbanos yachid, which now are binding Klal Yisrael into one nation, are all one. There's a certain sense of achdus created, not competition amongst the Shvatim, not one-upsmanship, but a sense of achdus. So all of a sudden, these karbanos yachid have a flavor, a quality of a carbon sibur. And once it has that flavor of carbon sibur, then already the carbon is doche Shabbos. So perhaps very striking, beautiful idea that the Medrash tells us when it comes to Nisan ben Suar. Sometimes it's not always so good to be number two. And you think number one has it all, number two, but number two here, Nisan ben Suar had a tremendous koach hachidush by following the lead of Nachshon ben Aminadav and created a real sense of achdus and Klal Yisrael transforms these karbanos from karbanos yachid, which could have created divisiveness, to karban sibur, which creates a certain sense of achdus. And maybe that's why the Torah goes out of its way to spill all this ink on every single Nasi's karban. They're all the same, but to highlight that sense of achdus. Indeed, they're all the same. They're all one, because that's what Knesset Yisrael is. We want to achieve the maximum sense of success. We have to build a sense of achdus, that sense of togetherness, that sense of oneness. So even though we are maybe 12 different shvatim, but 12 different shvatim bringing the same exact korban highlights a phenomenal sense of achdus, which was brought about by the unique hikriv es karbano, that unique lashon which the Medrash picks on and points out of Nisan ben Suar. What a wonderful Shabbos.